Welcome everyone to another episode on The Gadget Doctor. My name is Martin and I will be your host and guide on this week's topic.
So today we're going to be flashing a SonOff Basic with ESPHome, and you can use Tasmota with it as well. You want to remove the cover. You do not want your AC mains connected to this while flashing. And if you look on the Basic, you'll see these four holes where there would be a header. When you flip it over, it will show you that you have a ground, transmit, receive, and 3.3 volts. This is where we will hook up our FTDI breakout. And this is a selectable one when it comes to voltage, either 3.3 volts or 5 volts. You'll want to put your jumpers on the corresponding pins that we're going to be using, which would be ground, our voltage, and our transmit and receive. They're color-coded, so it's going to be easy to know where it goes. And then for me, I haven't done it yet, but taping them up to where they line up, to where all you have to do is stick it into the corresponding holes up above that match everything on the back side. And then we'll go ahead and flash ESPHome. Now that I've actually got a free hand to hold my phone, since I don't have the camera set up, the pins are in correlation with our pinouts. You shouldn't have to put any pressure on it to get contact with the contacts on the PCB. In order to get it into setup mode, you'll want to hold down the button as you plug in the USB cable. Go ahead, Lily. Once it's plugged in and you hear your ding on the laptop, go ahead and release that button. You'll know you're going to be in setup mode when the LED light right here does not flash. So you're in boot mode. Now that our board is flashed, go ahead and disconnect the FTDI, plug it back in, and you'll notice it will boot up. Once it boots up, you can go back into ESPHome dashboard and you can see that we're online. We have discovered a new device, ESPHome dining room light configure. Yes, we want to add it. Go ahead and click submit, and we're going to label this area.
I found dining room light from the Home Assistant skill, and you can control it by saying, turn off dining room light. I found dining room light button.
And finish. And as you can hear, Alexa has already told me that she's found something on the network. Now that's done, and you're good to go. You can go ahead and take everything off, knowing that it has been found on our network. Like, put that back in, close that back up, and you're good to go. I hope this helps. So today we're going to be installing our SonOff switch that we have labeled dining room light into our switch box. We're going to need two lengths of wires. This is actually from an extension cord and one split, but we'll have 3/4 of an inch of the sheathing removed on one side and about 1/4 of an inch on the other side. You'll need that 1/4 of an inch to fit into our pinouts right there. So let's go ahead and get that all set. Now that we have our pigtails wired into our screw terminals, you'll notice one side has an input side. We'll need the neutral line as well as the hot side on the input. But when it comes to our output side, we will only need the line side or load side. We don't need the neutral unless you have the neutral switched as well, which here in the US isn't going to happen. Our length of wire is 6 inches. That is by NEC code. Like I said, this is an extension cord wire that I just ended up cutting. I don't recommend using extension cord wire, but if it's what you have laying around, it'll work. I would prefer you to use actual electrical 12 gauge wire, solid copper core, to get this wired in. But since this is only going to be temporary until I get an actual switch to replace this, it'll make the wife happy and it'll get it done. Once we have these wired in, we can go ahead and put our tops on. We'll get those screwed in. Now that we have our SonOff switch completely covered up, our wires pigtailed in, you will need a flathead screwdriver to take off your wall plate. Now that we've got our screws out, notice we have kitchen light, fan light, dining room light. This is the one we're going to replace. This one, we don't know what it goes to. It might go to an outlet. So this switch is actually going to come out and it's just going to get hardwired. That way I'll have plenty of room to put the SonOff switch into this area, as it's going to be pigtailed to our switch. So it's still usable in the off and on position, as well as being able to mind you folks, make sure your breakers are off before entering into any outlet box. I cannot state this enough. Make sure your breaker is off to whatever light switch you're going to be playing with. Now that we have our switches out, you'll want to find your neutral wire, which should be pushed up against the back. These are all your white wires. That's your neutral wire. Your black wire is going to be your hot wire. And if you see, right back in here, it's pigtailed in with the rest of them. We're going to use this hot, whatever this wire goes to. As I said, it might be an outlet that we don't know where it is. And we're going to pigtail into that with a wire nut for our power, as well as our neutral here. And then the single wire from the SonOff switch would be tied in to the top post of our switch. All right, now that we've got everything wired in, as you can see, our pigtail is on the top of our switch. Our line is going to the black wire, and our neutral is going to the white wire. Make sure you push these all the way to the back of the outlet box. Now, let's take a look and see if it works. Light switch in the dining room still works. Now, let's try the SonOff. As you can see, it works. Now all you gotta do is fit your box into this side, put your switch back, and you'll be good to go. As I said, this is a temporary fix until I get the switch that I have to get. Do not do this as a permanent fixture. Once you have everything installed, make sure your switches line up with your gang plate. This is going to be empty. I'm going to end up having to get a blank for it at Home Depot. That way nobody puts their finger in there, which is dangerous. As I said, playing with 110 volts, it's no joke. Be careful, make sure your breakers are off. Now that we have our switch plate put back on, we have our entity set up. Let's go ahead and see if it works. Sure enough, Hope this little tutorial helped on how to actually install one of these SonOff Basics. As I said, these SonOff Basics are not a permanent fix, especially not in an outlet box that has no circulation of fresh air, as it does produce heat. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.